What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Season 3. Yes, Season 3 of the Buffalo State College Bengals Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. Let me start off this episode by saying thank you so much for the support on the series from day one. This is episode number 30, and I had no idea that I would enjoy doing this series this much. Last season was a roller coaster all the way from the Lance Rice injury to winning 8 straight games along with our first conference championship of the series. This season is also going to be very fun as we play Syracuse and Troy in the non-conference and added NIU to our division, so be sure to drop a like and subscribe for the love of franchise content. I am going back to single games this season as I feel like the double headers moved way too fast, and obviously I want to have the most immersion in this series for you guys, and a big part in this immersion is getting the most out of our talent as possible. So I did go in and add some notable formations like the 5-2, the 4-2-5, the 4-6, and the 3-4 as I want to get the most out of our linebacker depth as possible. Also, the 3-3-5 is a broken formation in this game, and I wanted to use it for sure. We had a lot of departures on defense this year, so it was very important to me that we had the best scheme possible. Looking at their preseason polls, I was very surprised to see that despite losing against Alabama in the national championship, Ohio State is number 1, UCLA and Texas A&M were the other playoff teams, coming in at 5 and 7 respectively. The Horny Toads of TCU come in at 14. And as we continue through the top 25, you'll see that there are plenty of Pac-12, Big Ten, and SEC schools, but no MAC teams in sight. Buffalo State is ranked 80 in the preseason polls, ahead of some schools like Arizona State, so they were very generous with that ranking. Jonathan Taylor was snubbed of the Heisman last season, so no surprise to see that he is back on the top of the watch list. Looking at MAC projections, despite Buffalo State winning the conference last season, they have them in 3rd place with Ohio and Army above them at 1 and 2. This is surprising as the Bengals have a lot of talent returning, especially with Leon Jacobs being named a second-team All-NCAA player. Dennis Vincent comes in as a first-team All-MAC along with both of our safeties. Tony Hawkins is a second-team. I don't get why Buffalo State is not projected to win the conference, especially with so much young talent that has produced in the past and will only get better. With so many Bengals players from the past being replaced with younger and brighter stars, you may be wondering who these players exactly are. Introducing the Season 3 Bengals. QB1 for Season 2 is Lance Rice, and of course he suffered that gruesome ruptured disc injury, but they say he's back and ready to go more than ever. Lance Rice could turn one of the most heartbreaking moments into one of the greatest comeback stories in college football. He's been working all offseason, his throws have been fantastic, and he has all the physical tools to lead this Buffalo State offense to stardom. It must have been difficult watching Leon Jacobs and Adrian Armstrong lead this team forward, but Lance Rice is no stranger to controversy, suffering injuries in high school and coming back every single time. Of course, the aforementioned Leon Jacobs is back for another season. He rushed for over 1,600 yards last season and had 24 touchdowns. And if you like dad jokes, you could say that he literally carried this team. He's also back with a brand new number in number 1, which was gifted to him by his mentor, DJ Lee, who of course graduated last season. Lee was a great leader for Leon, and he's emerged as an excellent locker room player for Buffalo State. And I've heard that he's even faster this season, clocking in with a 4.35 40-yard dash in camp. Doubters learned very quickly that Leon Jacobs is not speed alone, and he brings so much to the table for this Buffalo State offense. I don't think he's going to have as much production with so much talent on offense, but he is a star. Moving forward to a player that is definitely going to get more reps this season, and that is Nicholas Lee. He's already a campus legend, being the president of a Delta fraternity, and really knows how to have a good time. But Lee justifies his antics on the football team, paving the way for Leon Jacobs, but he will also be used as the team's primary power back this season, especially from the goal line. If you're in a 4th and inches situation, if you're at the goal line, your best bet is to give it to Nicholas Lee because he is the strongest player on the team, and with his frame, he bounces off tackles like nothing. They even devised a flexbone formation featuring him more in their offense. But you didn't just hear this from me, as national media has dubbed Lee the producer. Billy Myers is a player who kind of underproduced in his role as the number 2 receiver in the offense last year. He's a big-bodied possession receiver with athleticism whose job is to go up and make the tough contested catches. And while he did do that at times last season and we saw flashes, the consistency was not there. Hopefully Myers steps up as the number 1 receiver following 3 graduations. Pat Hughes' transfer to Buffalo State was quite surprising, but his development was even more surprising as he had one of the best camps out of any player. He is a slower possession receiver, but I would say at this point he is the best technical receiver on the team and has a high floor. He's 6'3" while Myers is 6'2". I think he's going to serve an excellent complement and more of a BJ Lynch or Denzel Moss role. While I'm excited for Hughes, Jeff Brown is a player who's gone quietly unnoticed as a preferred walk-on a year ago, and he takes over in the slot. While he's not quite as athletic as a slot receiver like DJ Lee was, he's a good route runner and has better receiver skills overall. At this point, he's the most athletic receiver we have, and while he's 6'3" in the slot, he could pose a matchup nightmare for many smaller defensive backs. Buffalo State has so much depth at receiver this year, so expect to see Bo Burrell and Lance Phillips take a few snaps in the offense this year, but another position that has depth is tight end, and Chris Peterson won this starting job hands down. He is a good blocker, a good receiver, and has some athletic upside to the point where he just had to stay on the field. He's very polished, but only 6'2". However, if you want a big tight end, Chris Johnson is going to be your guy. 6'6", 254, and a 2-star that they really developed and put in the weight room last season. Johnson is the reason this team is going to be running plenty of 2 tight end sets, as he has the best hands on the team and is basically just a big receiver. He's not a good blocker, but the Bengals also have plenty of tight ends to do that for him. But the reality is that Johnson entered camp as the number 4 tight end on the roster and fought his way with contested catches to number 2. He will have a huge role in the offense this year and is a big target for Lance Rice. The offensive line is a position with a lot of turnover, and they went from starting 5 seniors to starting 5 freshmen this season. Let's break it down further. Andrew Poland is a big dude who is a 2-star commit. Can't help but feel that Buffalo State is getting a steal with him as he has a lot of strength and is a plus athlete. I feel like he could have used another year to work on his technique, but overall he was the Bengals' best option at tackle and should have an okay season. Chris Turner was the best overall player in the recruiting class, and while he coincidentally has the same name as my high school principal, hopefully he does not block like a high school principal. If that's the case, we should be okay. It's no secret that the Golden Corral Buffet is where Buffalo State players go to improve their size and strength. Arguably, no player improved more this offseason than new starting center Ryan Jones, who was already a polished pass blocker and got even stronger. I'm actually really excited to see what Jones can do on the football field this year. Buffalo State didn't redshirt Marcus Blaylock because they wanted to keep him as a backup, but since he didn't play a snap, the redshirt was applied after all, which is really exciting for a player with a very, very high ceiling to have an extra year of eligibility with Buffalo State. He's also from Texas, so a big man. I definitely thought that Justin Henderson would be a guy they would either redshirt or move inside to guard, but guess what? There's no better option at right tackle, so you're gonna have to put up with Henderson this season. He was another 2-star recruit who may struggle to pass block, but should be able to help out Leon Jacobs in the running game as he's very, very strong. With the entire offense introduced, let's move to the defensive side of the ball where we have Drew Tinsley, who's the next player in line to start as a senior redshirt defensive end. Dante Randall and Sebastian Strickland were both rotational players at a point in their career, and Tinsley just joins them and could be a big-time breakout for the Bengals. Dennis Vincent has the best resume of any defensive lineman on the team as he got to the quarterback 6 times in his freshman campaign and was named as a second-team All-MAC player in only his first season. Any concerns about his size have been thrown away as he's proved to be an absolute force. Another redshirt senior joining the rotation is Nick Weatherford, who is replacing Wendell Wallace after being a rotational guy. He did make some big plays down the stretch, so needless to say, he's got a big chip on his shoulder and should be a factor. Terence Jackson had a very quiet freshman campaign, but he does have a sizable frame at 6'3", 278, and even though he won't be the most productive pass rusher, he's excellent at setting the edge in the running game, and I think his production will increase this year. At middle linebacker, we have Bender Rover, who is actually a Buffalo State legacy, as his brother Oliver was the starter next to Matthew Littlefield during season 1. While the Rover parents clearly were not sober when they named Bender, he's enough of an intimidation factor on the football field that I'm sure he was not bullied just for his name alone. In fact, I like that attitude. Embrace that name, Bender. He does offer a similar skill set as his brother Oliver, with decent athleticism, good tackling ability, a nose for the football, and being good in coverage. Although I believe that Bender's floor is Oliver's ceiling. While Rover is the one replacing Littlefield, we cannot forget about the value of Tony Hawkins on this team and for Rover's development as a whole. He is a second-team All-MAC player entering the year and is one of our best returning defensive players. He is excellent in coverage, so he will be the team's dime linebacker this season. He was second on the team in tackles, and I expect him to have a big-time breakout season, especially with Bender Rover. If Matthew Littlefield hadn't been so good over the past 2 years, I think that Tony Callahan would be a household name, especially for his pass rushing ability. He's an excellent blitzer, so Buffalo State is putting them in their 3-4 package to really get after the quarterback. Moving to the back end, Zach Jennings is a starter because Buffalo State graduated 2 starting cornerbacks, but don't think that Jennings' starting position is only because of a lack of depth. He is already the best cover corner on this team and should make a day one impact. Shelton Stewart had a rough season in the nickel last year, specifically in coverage against shiftier slot wide receivers. Therefore, Buffalo State moved him to the boundary, where I feel like he is a more natural fit. He's excellent in run support and man coverage. I feel like he could be one of the most improved players on the team next season. Moving to the nickel starter this year, Brian Smart replaces Stewart after emerging onto the scene as a preferred walk-on player and earning the dime linebacker spot. He's come in, and all he has done since then is work hard. I expect him to have a big-time year in the nickel for Buffalo State. Moving to the back end, Ben Hall and Jay Woods are still there, but they swap positions. Ben Hall is entering his first season as a full-time starter, as last season they benched Markel McMillan, and Hall never gave his starting spot back with big hits and playmaking ability. I think he is a much better fit at free safety, which is good because his ladder, Jay Woods, is a much better strong safety. He was third on the team in tackles last season, and I heard that he spent the entire offseason working on improving his range and coverage ability, especially in man coverage against tight ends, which is where he would play and where he should excel in his sophomore campaign. Keep an eye on Jay Woods. At kicker, Kevin Kinsley's leg only gets stronger going into his junior campaign. He had a good sophomore year, and Derek Rain also is improving, but hopefully we can eventually see a fake punt from him. One of the most important positions for Buffalo State to replace is kick returner, as they were very spoiled with the production overall of DJ Lee, who graduated as an All-American returner. Tommy Keith is a backup def running back, and he absolutely blew away the competition, and I'm really hoping that he can even replace some of the production that DJ Lee brought to the table. And that is every starter for your Season 3 Buffalo State Bengals, but that does not mean that this intro episode is over. Stick around for recruiting. Malik Dupree has quietly emerged as one of the most prestigious head coaches in college football after bringing the Bengals from a D3 newcomer all the way to a conference champion in just his second year. They've been finding schematic ways to get creative, and one of them was adding the flex bone to take advantage of Nicholas Lee, Lance Rice, and Leon Jacobs at once. Recruiting is not as big this year as Buffalo State isn't graduating nearly as many seniors as they have in years past. This recruiting season really becomes about continuing to stock the shelves with depth and build pipelines around the league. Also, we have lightened up on our recruiting rules since we did win a conference championship, and many more talented players are eyeing Buffalo State seriously. We will get into who some of those players are, but we have established a pipeline in Texas, but are also targeting players in Florida, California, Georgia, and Washington as we look to expand our recruiting footprint from more than just the Northeast. However, without further ado, here is the preseason recruiting board for Season 3. And congratulations to Noah Brooks, Damian Hudson III, Brady Banta, Will Landry, Keith Lockhart, Toby Allen, Derek Taylor, Eddie Jones, Steve Willowson, and Marshall Chase for becoming the 10 sub-recruits for this season. I choose players based on diversity of position, realistic names, and physical attributes. If you want to submit another prospect, please do so using the link down in the description, and feel free to submit as many as you want because I feel like there can never be too much immersion. We are also at the point in the series where I'm going to start going after some of the sub-recruits. Bender Rover was the first one this year, but we are going to expand to some of the higher quality guys, and if they want to come here, we will gladly take them on the squad. To kick off Season 3, we have a rematch against Syracuse, who beat us in overtime after we led them by 24. The difference this year, however, is that Lance Rice has returned, and while he could be the secret sauce that get us the win, you never know when something as gimmicky as a Hunter Haskins drop can cost you a game. Tommy DeVito returns for his senior season as the starting quarterback for Syracuse, but we need to keep him in the pocket. At running back, they graduated Mo Neal, so Markensi Pierre is the new starter in the backfield, and he is very explosive at 5'11", 217, with a lot of agility and 96 acceleration. The receiving core also will give us problems as they just clearly outmatch us in terms of size and speed. Remember that our secondary is extremely young. While we have size at wide receiver, their corners are very fast and talented and could pose a problem for receivers trying to get open. Aside from that, please drop a like and subscribe for the love of franchise and dynasty content, because that is all we do here. We can build a winner together at Buffalo State, and click right here to see more Bengals.
Feel you break somehow.